Hello and welcome to the New Thought Men's Podcast, where we explore what it is to be a healthy spiritual man today. I'm Eamon. It's great to have you with us. Welcome to the New Thought Men's Podcast. I am Eamon. Today we are here with Christian Sorensen. Christian, thank you so much for being here today. It's an honor to have you on the show. Before we get going on living from a higher perspective, which is the talk that you just gave for our summit, I'd like to go more in depth than that. But first, I'd like to introduce a little more about you for those people who don't know you as well. Dr. Christian Sorensen is the eminent spiritual leader of Seaside Center for Spiritual Living. That's seasidecenter.org. You can find them there. He is also the director of the Centers for Spiritual Living School of Ministry, an accredited master's degree program in consciousness studies in San Diego. Dr. Sorensen was born into religious science and has been a lifelong student of metaphysics. A gifted and eloquent speaker with a unique and engaging style, Dr. Sorensen lights up audiences with his expansive vision, passion, and heartfelt enthusiasm. Indeed, you do. Dr. Sorensen has authored over 10 books, including Joyous Living, a 3-part series, Catch the Spirit, Riding the Waves of Life, and its sequel, Flying Through Life, and his newest books, Living from the Mountaintop, Being the Mystic You Were Born to Be, which was released in November of 2016 and recently collected an LA Book Festival winner award. Dr. Christian, so great to have you here today and welcome. Wanted to delve into or continue our conversation, or continue the conversation, I guess, in living from a higher perspective. And you had talked about a few things like spending time in nature and just getting outside and how powerful that is. And for myself, I can so relate. I'm more of an introvert. I live in Colorado, up in the mountains, and I have been up here for over 20 years, and it brings me such a sense of peace coming home every day. Just driving in my driveway, I'm just like, oh, I'm home. And even just being in that environment where my home is up in the mountains, it just gives me a greater sense of calm and a greater sense of connectedness, a greater sense of peace by surrounding myself with this natural and organic environment. It allows me to kind of just reconnect with my authentic pace, which allows me to just feel that calm and that peace and that divinity within me. So starting out there, tell us a little bit about just living from this higher perspective, maybe your experience in nature or calming yourself, being able to find this prerogative that allows us to take that deep breath and feel that peace in our lives.
Wow, 8,000 feet, man. No wonder why you got that grizzly look going on. Man. It's like outdoor, man. I'll give you an axe, buck up some wood, keep that fire going. I like it. I like it. So get ready for the winter. Yeah, nature for me definitely is the cause. You know, why I live on the beach. I live with the smell of the ocean around me, but also Montana, I mentioned. And really, it's Montana where I was inspired to write Living from the Mountaintop. Living from the Mountaintop is 10 chapters where it takes you through the evolution from your lower energy that is just stuck in this world of minutia and form and the rat race. And the Lake Tomlin's great line, the only one who wins a rat race is a rat. So even if you win, you're a rat, So, but the first chapter takes you, there's an exercises at the end of each chapter. It's really a self-guided book. And the first one has you draw your mountaintop where you can go to, and you begin to allow yourself to resonate and remember what it was like to be in your magic place, your mountaintop place. Could be your beach place, but whatever it is, you ground it inside your being. So at the cellular level, I'll say, you know what, I need to go there. I'm being called into a fight here, and my masculinity wants to throw punches. But you know what? There's a new man, a new masculinity that is emerging here that wants to come from a higher perspective, that there is pain in this situation. And so what I do is, rather than react and explode in that, I go to that high place or that mountain place, or what I have people draw and become and meld and just reverberate with. So it becomes so familiar because you spend that time there in your meditation, whether you can get there physically or you're stuck in suburbia. You can make it become so real that you are there in an instant, and you can come from that place and say, you know what, I want to bring love to this dynamic here. There's a challenge at the political level in our country. You know what, I'm going to bring peace. I'll let other people do the fighting. What I know is that there is a higher perspective of peace and brotherhood of our sisters and our brothers living together. And that's what I'm going to hold. I'm going to hold on to that possibility because, I'm sitting here in consciousness anyway, in a higher place, and knowing that I'm not getting caught up in just those few perspectives, but there are infinite possibilities, and I'm going to be a co-creator. In the midst of the darkness, I'm going to bring light. In the midst of the pain, I'm going to bring health and healing. In the midst, I am going to be a new thought, if you would. We're part of the new thought movement, and this is America's unique contribution to the world body of theology. Before the Transcendentalists, you had your basic who was it? Abraham. He was the father of Muslims and Christianity and Judaism. So you had your Abrahamic religions, you had your Eastern religions, but what you didn't have was the thought, was the awareness that you can begin to direct your life with your thinking, that you did not need to go to some outside power to eradicate the problems in your world. What you can do is allow your being to become a wonderful, receptive place to know that there's an answer in the midst of this without a fight and without beating up on the other person or the other situation, that somehow there isn't a winner and a loser, but there is something greater that is seeking to emerge in the moment. And so this is why I invite people in the first chapter or in the first class or whenever we get together, is you need to familiarize yourself with your mountaintop perspective, with your higher perspective. So you spend time there when you're peaceful, when you're in the mountains at 8,000 feet, when you're on the beach. You just allow yourself to become so familiar with what that I'd call a divine quality of well-being and peace is, that when you are shaken and rocked off your center, you remember to breathe and connect, not with a place, but a place in consciousness that is omnipresent, ever available. And in that awareness, you begin to be more receptive to resolutions, to answers, to merging different perspectives, because there's always a way through. And you've got to remember that when you're looking at that stone wall, there's a way through. And if I can just elevate myself like in an airplane, you look down at all the walls and the houses and the separation, you get a little bit higher and they all begin to merge into a beautiful landscape. We're part of a tapestry, and our diversity and our uniqueness is essential to allow the life we live in to be colorful. And so your difference is being called for in the midst of your conversations, in the midst of your relationships, in the midst of your business endeavors. Who you are and what it is you see is needed, particularly if it's different than the standard. And see, those who are operating in that higher place, they're not motivated by fear. They're not motivated by getting the carrot. They're not motivated by the standard operating system. We're activated from a higher place, from the, we're inspired by love, transformation, caring, bringing forth a new idea. And it is imperative that we bring our rebellious brilliance into the equation and recognize that fixing, the pipe isn't going to be the wherewithal. It's valuable to be able to do that, but there's more to our world if that's what we want.
Yeah. And it's through perception. Like, that's what I'm getting from what you're saying and talking and what I know about our philosophy, this New Thought philosophy. It is all about perception and how we see the world, how we all have these colored glasses that we put on that say, I was raised this way and in this culture and in this environment, and this is what I was taught in school, and this is what I valued through my upbringing, my religious upbringing, and all of these things that then color this perspective that we see through. And maybe in good ways and maybe in negative ways, if we're stuck in a victim mentality or we're really struggling or to see the abundance in the world, or as you mentioned in your talk, moving into this new experience of artificial intelligence and that this whole so many jobs are going to get changed or replaced by AI. And then you mentioned that during the 1800s, everyone was a farmer. And then the industrial age came. And that was an upending of all of that. And as it turned out, there were more jobs. And more people were needed for more things. So,
and that's what's happening today.
Yeah.
It's we've got to remember what has become the standard at one time was the fringe. Watson and IBM. It's like that was just radical. But he said, follow the independent thinkers. You want to follow those that aren't part of the standard. It wasn't too long ago that we heard about a guy by the name of Gates, coming up with these computers in his garage. Or at least, it's a good story. Anyway, but, it came out of his garage, or, where do we go to buy our stuff? We go to the mall. It was an outing. It was good food court. You had all sorts of options. But a guy by the name of Bezos, came up with this idea. You know what? You don't even have to go out of your house, which, once again, is not necessarily the best thing. But he's figured out how to deliver our stuff. I mean, I could order something in the morning and it could be there in the afternoon. And I don't know how healthy that is for the environment. And that's an entirely different story. But that is how whole industries begin to change. How we shop is now different because one guy had an idea. Tesla, Elon Musk, there you go. And we got this wonderful new electric vehicle. It's not like we hadn't had them before. The car companies put them aside so we wouldn't have them. But Musk came through with one that couldn't be put aside. But that's not enough. Now he sends us out into space, and we've got SpaceX, giving people, or will be giving people, vacations in outer space, satellites that are up there. And that's not enough. Now he's tinkering with our brains with Neuralink and putting the chip in our mind. And so it's not that the technology is what is the bad thing, because, you put a chip, let's say you have a soldier comes back from war and lost his arm. And to put a chip, and all of a sudden that individual can now make their arm go and hold their baby because there's a chip in their brain. And that's a beautiful thing. But if you're using a chip in your brain and all of a sudden you now have the computer, thinking for you, and you're caught up in your particular media stream, and you're only being given fed ideas from the left side or only ideas from the right side, and you're missing the higher perspective, that may not be the best thing. And so as we advance with our technology, yes, it's a blessing. Yes, we can mismanage and misuse it. And so this is why the higher perspective is essential, particularly that those are in a position of influence. And if they are in touch with nature, if they are in touch with their heart and their soul and humanity and kindness and these wonderful qualities that are our true nature, then they begin to be directed in other ways. And like I said, we're here to be in service, to support our journey in this world. So our soul, our spirit, the truth of who we are, that's not contained in this body, can begin to be more expressive. We're not here to get, we're here to be able to share. I love a story of I don't know if it's Aesop's or something. It's a well-told story about a guy who was trying to steal some stuff out of an orchard, oranges. He was hungry. He didn't have any food. The guy got chased out by the farmer. He ran out into the woods, kept running, ran a long ways. Finally, he wasn't being chased. He sat down by a tree, and he saw an injured fox, that has got his foot caught in a fox trap or some kind of animal trap, and and he was skinny. And all of a sudden, out of the bushes came a lion and brought like some food, some meat or whatever, and dropped it at the fox and left. And the guy was blown away that he had to come back the next day to watch. And the next day it happened again. And then the third day it like happened again. And the guy said, gosh, that fox is so lucky. I would just want to be like that fox. But there was a higher perspective that wanted to be heard in that moment. And that is, you don't want to be like the fox. You want to be like that lion or that bear or whoever it was that was bringing the food to the injured one. You want to recognize that you are the strength. You are the one who's been called. You are the one who's been given the skills. You're not one who needs to take and be taken care of. You have been given the opportunity to come into this world and to share, and not because you're looking to take it back. The new masculinity isn't looking at dominating and just exploiting, but rather it is looking at bringing forth into this world that which supports us all, and it comes from caring and giving, not by getting it back. I love the one of a guy who was passing a room and saw a woman on her knees taking care of some open wounds of a burn, something nasty and smell. It was just, the guy looked and said, you couldn't get me to do that for $1 million. And she looked at him and said, me either. It's not why she was doing it. She was listening to the humanity and the soul and the love that is within her, but it's within us all. And when we find that which brings us the joy of giving, your magic, you begin to be the answer to people's prayers. You begin to be the miracle in the world in which you're walking. People are going to look at you and go, wow, you're the one. I knew it. It's like when we are willing to be used by something that is greater than what's in our brain. We are connected to not a computer. We're connected to infinite possibilities that will beat any algorithms that are trying to feed us to think a particular way, or picking up what we have experienced heretofore. And remember that we are not who we were unless we continue to perpetuate that. That we are not bound by our precedent, as Troward would say, but rather we are free to express ourselves in a new kind of way. And this is what is wanted on the leading edge, the cutting edge, the growing edge.
Yeah, that shift in perspective from getting to giving is, how can I give my gifts that I am here to truly give? And to know that we all have those gifts. We all have that brilliance and genius and luminosity within us. I get so, in my upbringing, I'm a neurodiverse person, so I am very creative with numbers and letters. Some would call it dyslexia. But, I had to get past the anger and the wounding and the pain of being dyslexic before I could say, oh, wait a minute, there's actually the huge gift in this of creativity, of being a creative person, of being able to show up with a different perspective, being able to show up in a more heartfelt way, in maybe less of a brain way. Sometimes for me, that's been the perspective that I got to shift and change within me, from being a victim of this thing to, how does this enhance my life? How is this showing me my journey and my path? And it's been just so powerful to be able to embrace it as an ally, as opposed to this enemy that I used to have within me, or this thing that I hated about myself, or the thing that I struggled with.
That's beautiful. I mean, that's it exactly. It's allowing yourself to get beyond caught in the pain and comparison, and allow ourselves to rise to that higher perspective. And this approach to living is allowing yourself to rise to a higher perspective is going to serve you everywhere. We're so often comparing ourselves to people's highlight reels with our struggle and our learning, that what we want to do is recognize the way out of this is through it. The way through is the way out. And so you embrace exactly what you're sharing, and you let that be the gift for you, and it just allows you to be so much richer, and allows you to it allows you to see things that others hasn't seen. And this symposium that you're putting together for men, that we can click into anytime, anywhere, is truly a gift for humanity. It's going to touch more people than you ever will begin to realize, because you're following that which you're called to do. And when you follow that which you're called to do, it brings joy, it brings passion, it brings excitement. And so thank you for doing that. And I mean, it's just the stories are many, of people, and I'm looking at a good one right now. So thank you.
Thank you, Christian. And for all that you do, just so incredible. But before we get to that, I do want to ask you kind of one last question. And this is, I know you have supported and championed men's work at Seaside Center. You have a thriving men's group there, and you get what men's work is about. It's about helping us as men heal and being able to align with what does healthy masculinity look like, so that we're then able to model it not only for ourselves and each other, but model it out there for our families, for young men who are in need so much right now. And even out into our communities, out into our nation, and out into the world. So I just appreciate you doing the deep work that you have done, both for yourself and for the community, in and through men, that then impacts everyone in the community.
Well, thanks for that. And I just want to say that what I've done is just created a space. We have got a wonderful men's group, and we have got a godfather of the men who just somehow is able to call them together every month to make breakfast. We just had a wonderful concert in our gardens, our meditation gardens, and we just the people came together, and they were the men. They took on the barbecue and made sure all the food came out. They fed 250 people, and the team of people, it was a beautiful combination of the masculine and the feminine, and it all was driven by a vision of creating a space where people could come together and love and sing and joy and dance and just be together. And so the men held an important part of that. But our men's group, there's a guy by the name of Ray Holder, and he just somehow creates a space for men to come and talk their stories. And so often the old model or the image of men was, they held their feelings. And what is happening with the new male that is emerging is that we're coming forth as a more whole individual, and recognizing, this is part of it. But the yang, or the yang kind of energy, the strength kind of energy of being able to push through the wall that we had is needed, because we've grown so accustomed to being protected behind, this is how I'm supposed to be in the world, that being in the world in a new way takes the courage. It takes a faith, it takes a trust, it takes a safe space. And so the men's group has created a safe space for guys who for 80 years have been in their strong, staunch, stoic kind of self-expression, that they begin to, drop the guard a little bit. And because the age, probably doesn't matter as much, because this is who I am in. And so they find the space to share stories, and other guys, and they cry together, and they hold the hands, and it's just been a tremendous blessing. And I gotta say, I didn't have much to do with that other than say create the space, and there was a need that has been filled. So you come here any third Saturday morning, and there's a breakfast waiting for all males who can walk through the door.
Nice. And that's it. I think creating that authentic space where men get to be themselves, where they get to show up and have the experience of being a whole man, that whole man or whole person idea that we don't have to squash the emotions, the feelings that we have, but instead we get to practice expressing them in a circle of men. And I look forward to being and meeting your guys at some point when I'm in California. And, we also provide that online, and one of our true purposes is being able to bring this out into the world, bring this out into all the spiritual centers, what you guys have already, to bring those to each and every New Thought center and beyond. And I think that's, so I just appreciate what you've done, what your men have done, what so many men have done to pave the way for us to be where we're at right now, and looking at what is healthy, generative, supportive masculinity looks like. And that brings me to my final question for you. What does healthy masculinity look like in the 21st century?
I think it's being able to walk in this world with a sense of calm composure, not an overbearing ego expression, no need to pound the chest, but to be a strength, a pillar of strength that comes from an inner knowing that that love is the truth of in and through all things, and that love is as strong in the masculine as it is in the feminine, that it is truly an ability to be able to be strong enough to blend the two, to be seen, to be heard in an energetic feeling kind of way, and to recognize not everybody will get that, and that's okay. But what I can do in my healthy expression is to be that wherever I am, and not allow anyone or anything or any situation pry that away from my self-expression in the world. So whatever stirs you, you notice it, you let it go, you go to that higher perspective, and you allow that to express through you in the moment that is calling for that greater possibility.
Perfect. Thank you, Dr. Christian. You are amazing. Thank you for being with us today. And we'll have you back again, I hope, for another installment, maybe next year.
All right. Congratulations on the launch of this symposium. I know it's a success already. Congratulations.
Thank you. Appreciate you holding that.
All right.
Blessings. I hope you enjoyed this interview from the New Thought Men's podcast. For instant access to all podcast interviews, talks from our summit, men's groups, and so much more, join us at newthoughtmens.community. Thanks so much for being with us today. There's more to come, so stay tuned in.